Okay, we are live. We're live and streaming on Facebook. Just also going to pull it up so that I can watch the chat. Awesome. Thank you to the one other person watching this. We're just getting things set up and we'll be started in 3 minutes. So we'll be starting this conversation in a couple of minutes. Thank you to the 4 people that are watching. We'll be starting up at 6 o'clock as scheduled. So then just for everyone's knowledge, it takes there's a little bit of delay between us and the Facebook. So if anyone's asking questions in the chat, which we highly encourage, it might take a couple of seconds for us to receive them. But we are watching the chat and we should be good there. Tatiana, do you want to introduce Wave and get us started?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Tatiana, and I am on the fall voter registration leads. And WAVE is a statewide advocacy grassroots organization that works to prevent gun violence, whether it's shootings, injuries, or deaths, through educating people, through lobbying, protests, marches, and so I will introduce the rest of our team. I will pass it to Tyler to introduce himself.
Thank you, Tatiana. I'm another one of the co-leads of our great VR team this fall and summer. We've been doing great work to get people registered to vote. I'm a freshman at Carthage College, and I'm really excited to be here in this conversation about college voter registration today. Pass it along over to Will.
My bad. Hi, everyone. I'm Will. I'm a freshman at Madison this year, UW Madison. I got to intern with Wave last year, and I wanted to come back this fall because of all the cool work that they do. So I'm just on the voter registration team, working with everybody else. And I'll pass it on to Aaron.
Yeah, so my name is Aaron, and I am also a freshman here. I'm currently at UW Madison, and I'm also on the voter registration team, was an intern this past summer. And yeah, so tonight I'll be pretty much initiating or answering the questions about voter registration, especially for students on college campuses. And then I can pass it to Adeline.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Adeline. I was an intern with WAVE this past summer. I'm a high school student just outside of Madison. And yeah, I'm on the VR team. Can't wait to be part of this conversation. And then, yeah, I'll pass it back to Tyler or Aaron.
I'll
And I'm
take
so
it.
sorry. Before we
Sorry.
get started, we do want to send our thoughts and our prayers, and of course our action, with those impacted by the shooting today in Milwaukee at the funeral home. Um, thinking of everyone impacted, and continue to do this work.
And thank you so much, Tatiana. Unbelievably important, and definitely in our minds as we talk about the topic of tonight, which is going to be college voter registration. So Aaron's going to be our expert on college voter registration. He's been studying up this week to answer all of our great questions. So I'll start it off, Aaron. What paperwork do you need to register to vote as a college student?
So the paperwork you need to register to vote specifically is called like a proof of residence. And a proof of residence basically serves to show that you live or reside where you're going to vote. And these proof, there are multiple things you can use for proof of residences. Most common is your state ID or your driver's license for Wisconsin.
Well, that is awesome. Adeline or Will, do you want to ask Aaron the next question?
Yeah. So with the proof of residences, what could you use for that besides the driver's license?
So if you don't have a Wisconsin driver's license, which a lot of out-of-state people especially don't, you can use any document that's officially given to you by the government that includes a voter's name and a current residential address. So one that you can use that a lot of people from Wisconsin might have is a fishing license. You can also use a concealed carrying license. There's a lot of these, so it might seem like almost a list. You can use an ID card issued by an employer. You can use a utility bill no more than 2 months old from your residence, an intake document from a residential care facility, if that applies to you, and a letter, if you're homeless, a letter on public or private social service agency identifying a homeless voter and their voting purposes, or a bank statement, paycheck, or pay stub if it is issued to you by a unit of the government. But the most important thing to note is that it absolutely needs to have your name, your voter's name, and the current residential address where you are and where you want to vote.
So Aaron, if you're trying to register to vote, where would be the best place to do that?
It is very easy to do it online. Or I don't want to say very easy, but it is very manageable and it should take only 5 to 10 minutes. So you can go to wave, or correct me if I'm wrong, wave.votewisconsin.com, correct?
Yep, and I just threw that in the chat for anyone live on Facebook, and we'll be continually referring to that. And I also put in the chat all of the different proofs of residence in case you didn't catch any of the things that Aaron said.
Perfect. So yeah, you can go to the URL wave.votewisconsin.com, and there it doesn't matter if you're previously out of state or if you're already in state, you can register to vote here in Wisconsin. And this is really nice because a lot of people from out of state are confused, like whether you have to do anything on a physical document to turn in. And the answer is you probably don't. So go to wave.votewisconsin.com and you can fill out the information required and register to vote there. You can also vote in person at, correct me if I'm wrong, the county clerk's office. Yes,
Or
but
other early voting locations, but yes, the clerk's office is generally the where you would early vote.
yes. But of course, with the pandemic going on, it's recommended for health reasons to do it online if you can first.
So, Aaron, if people are feeling a bit on or underinformed about the candidates, would you recommend checking out their websites to see what issues they need to know?
Yes, that is, for me, what I think is the primary source of where you can kind of grasp what a candidate's stance is, maybe what their background is if you're interested in that. And a way that you can find your candidates if you're interested is you can go to myvote dot wisconsin dot myvote dot wi dot gov. It's the URL if you want to put that one in the chat too, Tyler, where you can kind of locate yourself in Wisconsin and then see based on your location the candidates for each level of government. And yes, Will, that is a really great way of finding out their stances. You can find their websites if you search their name in Google, stances and background. It's really cool because a lot of them even have policy as well. So if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, and you can see what they're all about and what they plan to do with the bureaucracy.
And Aaron, of course, appreciated. I put that in the chat. It is a link that will go directly to where you're just going to type in your address and it will give you a preview of your ballot ahead of election day. It's awesome advice. The next question that I'd like to know about from you is, so when you receive an absentee ballot, there's a whole section on the envelope that talks about witness signatures. Who can be my witness for my absentee ballot?
Your witness can be anyone who sees you fill out the ballot who is a U.S. citizen 18 or older. So any U.S. adult can be the person to witness and sign witness on your absentee ballot. And it's really important that someone does that because they have to, or else if you turn it in without getting a witness signature, they discard it and your vote doesn't count. And that is probably likely to happen a fair amount in this election because of how many people are going to do mail-in voting, and you want to make sure you're not one of those people whose votes are discarded.
So, Aaron, when I'm registering to vote, should I just request an absentee ballot right away, or should I wait to do that?
We would highly recommend that you request an absentee ballot right away. Some people are going to go to the polls because that's what they'd prefer to do, but for safety reasons again, and to make sure you don't have to stand in a big long line, we recommend that you request absentee right away. And it would be you really need to request absentee to make sure 100% that your absentee ballot will be mailed in time in the next 2 weeks. So the closer you get to the election, the more risk there is that with everything going on with the Postal Service, somehow or somewhere your ballot will not be delivered to where it's supposed to be. So anytime probably after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I would probably tell you to, if you can at all, still request absentee, because that doesn't mean that you can't go to the polls and do it if your absentee ballot doesn't arrive. But I'd recommend that if you have to wait until, or if you don't request your absentee ballot until 2 or 3 weeks out, that you will probably have better luck and less risk going to the polls if your health permits. But yes, right away, request your absentee.
Thank you so much for that, Aaron. I just want to remind anyone watching on Facebook that we're really happy to take questions in the chat, and we're monitoring it and would love to answer questions people have as they come up while you're listening. Aaron, the next thing that I'm wondering, especially after the really ugly debate yesterday, why should I vote with such terrible candidates on the ballot?
One cool thing about voting is that you aren't just voting for one race. You're voting for multiple levels of races in government. And if you were watching that presidential debate and if you were disappointed about how the candidates performed or how they act or things like that, then you should still vote, because you can vote for candidates you might be interested in up and down the ballot. This includes you can vote for your state assemblyman, you can vote for your state senator, and multiple others that I'm sure I'm forgetting at the moment in this election. The treasurer and or keeper of deeds, those last two. But yeah, that's one reason to really vote, because if you don't like one of the options of one of the races, there are 4 or 5 other where you can choose between 2 candidates, one of which you will probably back with more than the other.
Aaron, that's very insightful. I just wanted to provide a point of clarification from the chat from somebody else logged into the Wave account, just reminding people that that as you're getting your absentee ballot back, another option besides for mailing it back is to drop it in a drop box. And in Milwaukee, it's a quick Google search away to see all of the absentee drop box locations. They're located throughout the city. So thank you. Aaron, the next question that we're going to ask is, what does this voting for candidates up and down the ballot have to do with ending gun violence, which is the goal of our organization?
The primary way that voting up and down the ballot helps us in the fight to end gun violence is that we can personally elect politicians, candidates that will face and tackle these issues. Because there are still candidates in Wisconsin and the United States that don't recognize gun violence as the epidemic that it is. And what we can do is we can elect leaders that will, one, address it and acknowledge that it exists, which some people don't even do. And 2, will attack it with policy and restructuring of systems that will decrease gun violence in Wisconsin and the US. And secondly, what's a really kind of sad fact is that the communities most affected by gun violence, such as homicides in Wisconsin, are often the ones who get out to vote the least. So we want everyone to get out the vote so they can vote for their issues that they're most passionate about and back the candidates who will address those issues.
So Aaron, I know you mentioned the candidates websites, but if I'm still not feeling informed, what other places should I go to try to get informed?
Besides my vote and the candidates' websites, there are also independent kind of journalists or sites that kind of have lists of specific things that candidates will tackle. And any of you have other ideas on that?
Yeah, every candidate does have policy platforms, and we're here voting on not just gun violence, but a variety of issues. We've got COVID plaguing our country. We've got another rendition of the Civil Rights Movement actively going on. So electing leaders who are willing to take responsible actions and those things, I think, is really important in this election cycle.
Yeah, and especially here in Wisconsin, Gen Z, so 18 to 24, can make or break who wins in this state. And so I would love to go around and I'll start and hear all your reasons on why you're voting this election, and you're going to encourage all your friends and family members and why we're doing this work. And for me, when we see Milwaukee and we see all these protests that's happening, I want to make sure that reason why I'm voting is because I want that energy to go to the ballot. And Milwaukee is one of the most segregated cities in the country, and I'm not saying voting is going to change that, because actively folks have voted and it hasn't changed. But making sure we're electing folks that represent us the best and that we can hold accountable the best is really, really important to me.
I mean, this may be a silly reason, but I think for a lot of young people, like if you've never voted before, I know this is gonna be my first presidential election. Like, it's just a new experience at the end of the day. I mean, you've never voted before, you want to do it, you want to see what it's really like to do your civic duty and get out to vote and have an impact on something. So if no other reason than that, then definitely go out and vote.
I really think that a lot of people are complaining about what 2020 looks like right now in terms of the state of the pandemic, in terms of just the state of our country and world. And within our communities, I think the first step you can take towards taking action to get us to a better place is showing up to vote. And I think our generation has a lot at stake. And our generation is taking a lot of the biggest blows to all of the issues that we're seeing right now. So I think it's essential that we get out and vote, especially as college students, as so many of us are.
Tyler, if I could just add on to that, I think it's really important to acknowledge that if you're a young person, or especially in college, like you can't control if your classes get shut down, or if some other opportunity goes away. There's it's a very tumultuous time, and there are a lot of things that are out of control, but you can still go vote. So exercise that decision that you do have.
No reason I have in addition to that is because I vote because I want our government to have more young, active leaders. Because I'm sure if you're in Wisconsin, you may or may not have heard of this. The state assembly hasn't met or discussed policy in over 150 days now. And that's just mind-boggling to me, because normal middle class workers don't get 150 days of vacation time a year and still get paid. So why should our politicians? Additionally, there aren't very many young people in our government, because that's resulting probably because a lot of young people don't vote proportional to old people. So I just vote to see new ideas, people tackling the issues, and actually being active representatives of their districts.
Now, Adeline is the fifth member of our team, and she's actually not 18, but that doesn't mean that she's not taking civic engagement. And we actually have an event planned for tomorrow where she's going to talk about that. So I'd love to give her a couple of minutes as we wrap up here to kind of give a little pitch to that Instagram live stream tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. So, like Tyler just said, I'm under 18, so I can't vote. But I think it's still really important because, especially Gen Z is just so energized right now, that being able to give this energy a little bit of direction and help youth under 18 find a way to be civically engaged is just really important. So tomorrow I'm going to be meeting with the co-state director of March for Our Lives Wisconsin, Sienna Perna, and she and I are just going to be talking about a few different ways how youth can get engaged and how to be active in kind of the political world, especially when they can't vote. So I'd love it if any of you guys could join. But yeah, I think especially since I can't vote, I think it's really important to kind of hear everyone else's reasons to vote. And I totally agree with all of them. Being able to just voice your opinion and have your voice heard and get it's your right to vote. So it's, yeah.
Thank you so much, Adeline. I just threw that Wave's Instagram link in the chat. If you just give them a follow, tomorrow you'll get to see Adeline and Sienna have a really important conversation thank you so much to the 6 of you that have tuned in throughout this conversation. Unless any of my team members have any last thoughts, I think we're kind of wrapping this up. Really good. Thank you all so much. Now I just have to figure out how to end a Facebook Live. And I think we're, oh, no, I know how to do it. 1 second. And we're good. Maybe.